Uh-huh. No, it's not. Don't worry about
Ready?
it.
The Board of Education will come to order. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
I move to enter into executive session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, or legal, property acquisition issues, and student issues. Maryland Local Government Code Article Section 9-512A, 1, 2, 6, and 10.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The board will now enter into executive session. The Board of Education will reconvene at this time. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Board of Education meeting this morning. Please turn off your cell phones. Thank you very much if you haven't done so already. I'd like to make a couple of introductions this morning. I see Liz Leskinen here this morning. Good morning, Liz. How are you this morning? Liz is the Maryland State Education Association UNISERV Director. Thank you for being here. I see Mrs. Laughlin's here this morning also. Mrs. Laughlin is the president of the Education Association of St. Mary's County. Harold Siskin is also here representing the Retired Teachers Association.
And Faith Abernathy just
Faith, where's Faith? Oh,
sitting
Faith just
next
came
to
in.
Anna now.
Faith, good morning, Faith. How are you? Faith Abernathy is president of the Collective Education Association of St. Mary's County. Thank you for joining us this morning, Faith. Okay, moving along, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Board reports. This morning we'll start with Mrs. Allen.
I had an opportunity to attend the National Honor Society induction at Leonardtown High School. I was joined by my colleagues, Mrs. Washington and Mrs. Crosby. It's always exciting to see students do well. There were 63 students who were inducted, which is just a huge number when you look at the student body. And very proud and very excited for the students who were selected. And National Honor Society over the years has become more than just a note to put on your college application or your resume or wherever you might like to note it, but has really turned to the work of leadership and of serving the community in a variety of ways. And so the National Honor Society participates in a number of service projects over the year, and that is a huge part and parcel of what they do, so that they come together as a group to do good work in our community. And so congratulations to all those who were inducted, and I look forward to learning more about what they're doing over the course of this coming year. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Mrs. Washington.
Good morning. I had the honor of participating in the Veterans Day Parade, which was held in Leonardtown. Not only did I walk in the parade from Wright King to the town center, I helped the mayor co-MC the parade. It is recognized as one of the largest Veteran Day parades in the region, and it is a way to show support for our veterans who have served in the past and who are currently serving. It was a tremendous outpouring of support for our veterans. St. Mary's County Public Schools is a system which is closed for Veteran Day, Some systems around the nation do not close for Veterans Day, but we do. And we have a strong presence from our students in the form of all 3 marching bands, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, dance groups. There are also other agencies who are there, the volunteer fire squads, elected officials, community and civic organizations, the Corvette Club, Mustang Club, so many people were there. And the new Governor-elect Hogan chose St. Mary's County to be the place to participate in the Veterans Day parade. I wished him a lot of success and look forward to us working with him in any way that we can to move students forward and to have a system where all students can and will learn. So it was a wonderful opportunity. I want to thank all the businesses, restaurants who offered free meals to our veterans. I thank them for doing that, and we owe a debt of gratitude and respect for those who have served and those who will serve in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Washington. Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, sir. No report this time.
Mrs. Crosby.
I, too, went to the Honor Society at Leonardtown. I try to make the Honor Societies. Why? Well, I tried very hard to get on the Honor Society, and when I did, it was very special to me. And I can remember sitting there looking for my mother in the audience. Those were the days when they didn't tell you if you got on or not. And my mother's dead now, but I miss her terribly, and any of you love your mothers. Oh, I hope you love your mothers. So that's one reason I go, and I know that those boys and girls, they're young men and women, it's very, very special to them because they've worked so hard to get on there or get the, it's hard to get on. I enjoyed the orchestra. Now, when I was in school, a million years ago now it looks like, we only had 69 kids in our senior class. So, we only had like 5 that got on the Honor Society. But the other night, my goodness, how many did you say got on, Kathy?
63.
That's a lot. But that shows they can't just get on. They have to fill out the paperwork and be approved and everything. So things are, what can I say, wonderful and improving. There you go.
Thank you, Mrs. Crosby. Sylvie?
Yes, at this time, I'd just like to give an update on what the high school SGAs have been busy with throughout this year. So at Chopticon High School, they've created 2 different committees, the Leadership Committee and the Outreach Committee. The Leadership Committee has been conducting workshops on various leadership skills for the students, and the Outreach Committee has been participating in different volunteer work, and additionally, they participated in the Kids Helping Kids food drive and with the food going to the Southern Maryland Food Bank. At Great Mills, they also just finished up with the Kids Helping Kids food drive, and they just recently started Operation Christmas Child. And at Leonardtown, they're finishing up the Kids Helping Kids food drive, and then also plan to do a holiday activity as for the approaching holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarita. I attended the Veterans Day Parade. It was an exceptional parade. As we all know, the parades are great, and yesterday's parade was, they claimed, was the largest parade ever. And it was great seeing all the veterans and honoring all the veterans. Some of you in this room are veterans, and we all have veterans in our families. And I have a son who's a retired as a veteran in Memphis, and he sent me some pictures. He was with the veterans in the veterans home, helping some of our veterans get around and get to some of the activities down in Memphis. The children really had a great time. They were all over the place, having fun, looking at the horses, riding on the floats. In fact, the superintendent and Mrs. Washington were on the float with the children. The student essays, those of you that were there, they were outstanding. children did a great job with those essays, didn't they? You heard
Absolutely.
Mary was there. Beautiful. It was a beautiful day, and the governor-elect was there. And one thing I didn't realize is that he has ties to Leonardtown because Sterling,
His daughter?
his daughter-in-law, is married to one of his sons. And
Actually, it's
Is that
his
the
daughter,
credit?
it's his daughter who is, is an attorney in the state's attorney's
office,
office,
is
Jamie
that what-
Sterling.
Yeah. So, that was very, very interesting. It was nice, you know. It's like having an entire family, you know, together and honoring the veterans. So that was very, very nice. Okay.
Before we move on, might
Yeah.
I just make an acknowledgement that is bittersweet? And I know that we'll talk about this more at our next meeting, but that this is the next to the last meeting for both Dr. Raspa and Mr. Matthews. They will be leaving the board, and I want to thank you for the dedication you have put forward to your work as school board members over the years. Very much appreciated. People don't always understand the time commitment that is involved. It's not just simply showing up for a meeting once in a while. There's a great deal of work that goes into it in terms of studying issues, being prepared for meetings, and the sheer number of meetings that we attend, whether it's here or as a part of the Maryland Association of Boards of Education. You need to have a passion for it, but you also need to be realistic about the time commitment involved. And also want to say welcome to our two incoming members, Mrs. Bailey and Mrs. Weaver. It doesn't appear that they've made it to today's meeting, but look forward to working with them in their new roles as members of the board. And so I just wanted to say thank you to these two gentlemen, and welcome to our two newest members.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Brings us to the superintendent, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Dr. Raspa. I would have to echo Ms. Allen's statement that just the amount of time that board members serve, not only within this room, but throughout the county and throughout the state, whether it be traveling up to Baltimore to recognize a fantastic teacher for Teacher of the Year, or attending an evening, a National Honor Society event at Leonardtown High School. That was absolutely lovely. Or, as I found yesterday, riding on a trailer with Mrs. Allen on a hay bale and practicing doing this, and at the end of it, your face, I got sunburnt crinkles on my smiling, you know, because you don't want to not smile at these little children whining. It was really lovely, and at the end of it, I have to say, it is an exceptional commitment that all of you show to the children and their parents and the community of St. Mary's County. So thank you. It really has been. It's a pleasure to interact with you in all of those different arenas, and I look forward to continuing to do so. My report is very short today, in that I just want to say a shout out to Miss Brandy Monteith, a second grade teacher at Green Holly Elementary School. Miss Wachula Adams let me tag along in an observation in her class. And it was just great seeing those second grade children. They're using an instructional framework called ERLA, and just the organization of the room and the independence of the children as they went through some really higher order reading, thinking, and writing skills. It was just fantastic. And then we finished our time. Marines had been deployed across our schools to help out in a variety of ways, and at several of the schools they did outside projects, beautification projects, perhaps weeding back and doing some things they worked on at Elms and at Green Holly, I got to see they had set up an obstacle course in the gym. So as these second graders finished their class with Miss Monteith and it was going to the end of the day, they went down the hall and they got to go into their gymnasium, and we had four fantastic Marines leading them through this obstacle course and physical fitness and keeping them active. It was really quite a lovely thing. So it has been an absolute pleasure. And I shall conclude with the reading of the October Work Hard and Be Nice Award recipients. Laurel Appleby, Karen Armstrong, Kathleen Burkholtz, Cheryl Bradburn, Chiquita Cash, Joni Cummins, Jimmy Dixon, Allison Ernst, Terry Finati, Brittany Gilroy, Angela Goff, Missy Griffin, Mary Herbert, Larry Kane, Amanda Noble, David Lehman, Catherine Love, Michael Malone, Ann Mock, Francis Mora, Roxanne Porter, Chantel Somerville, Donna Squire, Sandy Tennyson, Julie Tillman, Laura Vallandingham, and Lee Zimmerman. Congratulations to all of the October Work Hard and Be Nice Award recipients. Thank you. Dr. Respa.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Recognitions. First recognition today is the American Education Week, November 17th through the 21st, 2014, and Education Support Professionals Day, November 19th, 2014. Mr. Farrell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to ask the following individuals to come forward. Ms. Anna Laughlin, President of the Education Association of St. Mary's County. Ms. Faith Abernathy, President of the Collective Education Association of St. Mary's County. And Ms. Kathleen Reinecke, our St. Mary's County Teacher of the Year from Oakville Elementary. This year, American Education Week will be observed from November 17th through November 21st. During that week, we will also be observing Education Support Professionals Day on Wednesday, November 19th. This is the day when we recognize all educational support professionals for their hard work and dedication to our students. American Education Week is a time when we celebrate and thank those who make a difference in our schools. It is a week for publicly spotlighting how important education is to the health and well-being of our children. It is a week for continuing to build partnerships between schools and communities on behalf of all students. President John F. Kennedy was quoted as saying, "Let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there is a private hope and dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation." This year's theme, Raise Your Hand for Student Success, highlights the importance of bringing together teachers, education support staff, substitute educators, parents, students, and community members in a unified effort to build great public schools. Parents, community leaders, teachers, education support professionals, substitute educators, counselors, administrators, superintendents, and of course, Board of Education members are all an integral part of the education process as they work together to provide a safe, healthy, and nourishing learning environment for students. American Education Week spotlights the importance of providing every child in America with a quality education and the need for everyone to do his or her part in making our schools great. In addition to this public recognition, the central office, schools, and other sites will be providing various activities in recognition of American Education Week and Education Support Professionals Day. So at this time, I'd like to ask the superintendent to come over and present the proclamations.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality, and whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, schools give them hope for and access to a productive future, and whereas education employees by their substitute educators, be they substitute educators, custodians, teachers, bus drivers, or librarians, work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And whereas schools are community linchpins, bringing together adults and children, educators and volunteers, business leaders and elected officials in common enterprise. And whereas November 17 through 21, 2014 has been designated as American Education Week. The theme this year is Raise Your Hand for Student Success, and November 19th has been designated as Education Support Professionals Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of St. Mary's County urges all citizens to make a commitment to public education and to the future of the St. Mary's County Public Schools by supporting public school activities throughout the year, and signed by the Board of Education and myself. And you are all lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Farrell, sir.
Okay, next recognition is School Psychology Awareness Week, November 10th through the 14th. And Dr. Ridge is supposed to be assuming.
Dr. Ridgel is not feeling well this morning, but he has a most fantastic stand-in, Miss Rhonda Harris.
Absolutely.
I hope you didn't just turn that off, Miss Harris.
I didn't either, because apparently I just did. And in the interim, I will say good morning. I'm so
Good
happy
morning.
to be
Good
here.
morning.
Dr. Raspa, board members, Mr. Smith, superintendent. It is my pleasure to hand this off. It is my pleasure to come before you and introduce these lovely ladies that are going to speak to you this morning about the School Psychologists Awareness Week, which is November 10th through the 14th. Their theme nationwide, in this remembering and being aware, is strive, grow, and thrive. School psychologists work with students, staff, and families to support the academic achievement, positive behavior, and mental awareness of all students, especially those students who struggle with barriers to learning. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Emily Tex this morning, as well as Ashley Beisel, who is our school psychologist intern this year. And they make up two key members of our school psychologist team. And they're going to share with you in greater detail some of the variety and in-depth and numerous amounts of tasks and responsibilities that they have, and what makes them such a key part of our enabling students to reach their full potential and truly achieve.
Good morning, Dr. Raspa, board
morning.
members, and Mr. Smith. Thank you for having us today and allowing us to share a little bit about our profession. As Ms. Harris had said, this is School Psychology Awareness Week, and the purpose of this week is to really spread the word about what school psychologists do and what our profession brings to the school systems. Again, it's November 10th through the 14th, and the theme this year is to strive, grow, and thrive. And with that, there's an intense focus on showing gratitude, because research shows that showing gratitude helps children to strive, grow, and ultimately thrive. The theme is to remind us to be leaders in creating a positive school environment for everyone on our campuses and in our communities. Our goal is to engage students at all levels of learning and development, to promote personal achievement, growth, and resilience, as well as a sense of connectedness and well-being. So I'm going to be passing this over to Ms. Beisel. She's going to be sharing the most. So I'm going to leave you with just a little bit about that strive, grow, and thrive. Strive, I ask you to work hard, take on new challenges, stretch yourself, excel, and do your best. Learn from mistakes, demonstrate the persistence to try again, try and see someone else's perspective, which will then lead to the next challenge, which is to grow, to learn new skills and ideas, build on experiences to expand our capacity, mature emotionally, socially, and behaviorally, think of and help others, develop positive relationships, evolve in your understanding of the world, be curious. Once you strive and grow, you are ready to thrive, and that is to feel protected, respected, and valued, be connected to a community of trusted peers and adults, find and enjoy new opportunities, balance responsibilities and work with friends and hobbies, find joy and accomplishment, and be grateful for those who help, be resilient, and thriving underlies the ability to strive. So it all loops back around in a circle. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Beisel.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Again, I am the school psychologist intern for the year, for the upcoming school year. I actually was the practicum student last year, so this is actually my second year in St. Mary's County, but a different role this year. As the intern, I've been able to have so many different experiences thanks to St. Mary's County Public Schools. We have changed so much over the years and brought so many things to St. Mary's County, which has been great. The school psychology model started first with simply having school psychologists doing assessments and assessing children. And now we come from a model that is more multifaceted, where we are participating in 4 main domains, and that is counseling, consultation, assessment, and intervention. Through those 4 pieces, we are able to help children to better meet their needs as well as meet their potential and to be successful within the schools. And as an intern, I've been able to participate in these 4 domains already, and it's only November now. So I've had a lot of experience, and it's been wonderful. In the area of assessment, I have been able to complete several comprehensive special education evaluations, working as part of the Individualized Education Program, or IEP, team, where I sit with other school professionals and we bring different evaluations and different perspectives together to put puzzle pieces together to better help students. I've been able to evaluate students for cognitive and intellectual abilities, for socio-emotional pieces, things of that nature, and helping to identify students with specific disabilities such as autism or other health impairment or specific learning disability, things of that nature. And the IEP team is just one team that I've been able to work with thus far. Another example of a team that I've worked with are some of the PBIS teams within the county. I've been able to help and participate to bring positive behavioral interventions and supports to the schools, which has been a great experience as well. And another team that our schools offer, which really helps students, specifically our general education students, is the pupil services team. This is a problem-solving team where we can all come together and hear concerns from teachers, from parents, even from students, depending on what grade level we're working with, to be able to better help put supports in place and put interventions in place to better help students grow and thrive. In addition to participating in teams, I've also participated in some consultative relationships where I've worked individually with teachers to help individual students or at the classroom level, whether it be providing strategies for behavior management or strategies for teaching phonics. There's lots of different ways that I've been involved with consultative relationships. I am currently also working with the school system as a whole to update our suicide and crisis intervention training that all St. Mary's County employees complete at the very beginning of the year through that Safe Schools training. So it's my honor to be able to go through and update that information and provide new research and new ways that we can help students when concerns like those arise. Another element that I've been able to do here in St. Mary's County is counseling. I've been able to work individually with students. I've also been able to work with groups of students. Through counseling, I've been able to help students with staying on task in the classroom, from personal things that may be going on and helping them work through to make change in their lives, and also with groups. I'm currently working with a group, well, it was called Red, White, and Blue, but now it's called Awesome Military Kids, because that's what the kids wanted to change it to. But that's a specific group that we're working with children that come from military families and supporting them in the best way that we can. In addition to that, I've been able to participate in several professional developments here in St. Mary's County, which has been very enlightening, and I've learned a great deal. I've also been able to actually conduct and provide professional development, specifically looking at classroom management and providing those strategies for teachers and our other staff. I have also worked with the Tri-County area to complete a grant through the Maryland School Psychologists Association to bring professional development down here to St. Mary's County for us. So we're hoping it gets approved, and it looks very promising. But also with the Maryland School Psychologists Association, myself and Emily have been able to represent Southern Maryland at our monthly board meetings, which has been great, so we can hear what's going on in Maryland and also let all the other counties know what's been going on here. So that was great to hear all the different experiences and different school psychology things that are going on. We also have our own little branch of the Maryland School Psychologists Association down here. We call it the Southern Maryland School Psychologists Association, and we work together to plan trainings and professional developments and even book studies. Right now I'm currently helping to create a book study on a book called Courageous Conversations About Race, which applies directly to St. Mary's County because as we've looked at school data from the past years and years before, we're noticing some achievement gaps and some suspension gaps for students from various backgrounds, whether it be ethnicity or socioeconomic status. So this relates very well to our goals for the year, which I hope that it brings on some great change for us. And just to wrap everything up, I have had a wonderful time here in St. Mary's County. I've worked with wonderful teachers and administrators and counselors and other wonderful school psychologists where I have been able to develop my skills and to grow and to thrive and become the best school psychologist I can be. Thank you very much.
And also as a sign of thank you, we got you guys each a School Psychology Awareness Week bracelet, and it says Thrive, so it's a reminder for you to strive, grow, and thrive. And then on the other side, it also says Gratitude Works, so a little reminder of our thanks to you for all that you do for St. Mary's County Public Schools, as well as reminding you to thank others in your life.
Thank you.
As the ladies are handing these out, one of the things that I would like you to take away is having heard the number of things that school psychologists are intimately involved in, and what a key piece they are at the cornerstone of helping every student reach their potential and achieve. And that they not only work with students directly, they are also working with our staff for professional development. This group of school psychologists are quite amazing. They're highly dedicated. They're dedicated to continuous learning, and they're dedicated to bringing their knowledge and expertise to the rest of us so that as together, we're all pulling together for every student. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Let's give a round of applause for all. Thank you, Mrs. Harris. Okay, it's time for the break. The board will take a 10-minute break at this time.
There's Bob. I like Bob Kemp.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Board will reconvene. Thank you. There's no public hearing today. Public comment, Madam Secretary?
Yes.
Okay. Please bear with me while I read the public comment statement. The board welcomes public input on policies and issues affecting our schools. The board takes this time to listen and consider, but not to comment. This is not, however, the appropriate forum for negative comments or criticisms of individual staff or students. Concerns about individual staff members cannot be resolved at the level closest to the situation should be directed to the superintendent. This board will not permit comments criticizing individual staff or students since this is outside the scope of public comment. Additionally, The board sits as an appellate body in both student and employee appeals. The board cannot comment on or have prior knowledge of a case that would influence their ability to deliberate. To maintain the ability of the board to render a fair and unbiased decision, comments regarding individual student or personnel issues cannot be presented at public comment. Speakers must sign in at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and speakers may not yield their time to someone else. The board encourages speakers to present written statements to the board secretary, who will distribute copies to all board members. Madam Secretary?
Good morning, members of the board and Mr.
Good morning.
Superintendent. Today, we recognize American Education Week, as we do every year in November. And at this time, it is especially important to EASMIC that we reflect on our history, because in November of 1964, which makes us 50 years old, the Education Association of St. Mary's County was born. People like Margaret Birch, James Adams, John Thompson, Robert Himaleski, and Hope Swan, just to name a few, came together to establish an organization that would improve the quality of our profession, the quality of life for those in our profession, and ultimately, public education in St. Mary's County. Young people coming into the profession today take for granted simple but valuable rights that did not exist when many of us who have been around a while first walked into a classroom. Planning periods, duty-free lunch, tuition reimbursements, health care benefits, sick leave, and national board certification stipends, along with improvements in salary that allowed the profession to become a viable way to make a living, are among the many improvements this organization has brought to all teachers in St. Mary's County. You may think that these advancements have no bearing on education itself, but this is not true. If you look at the nation as a whole and compare the states that have collective bargaining to the states that do not, you will find that the states with the highest ratings for their public schools are those states that have collective bargaining. This is actually a factor that entices the best and brightest to come to our state. Contract negotiations are not the only undertaking of the organization, for we strive to assist teachers in becoming experts in their field and help them to perfect their craft. Just this past month, the organization met in Ocean City for its annual convention. While there, several professional development opportunities were offered, as they are every year. This year, there was training in developing assessments, technology in the classroom, managing student behavior, and teaching students who are English language learners, also communicating with 21st century parents, just to name a few. Our Education Association has been instrumental in preparing teachers and educating parents on the Common Core, and we have collaborated with the Board of Education in developing an evaluation tool that helps teachers have conversations about what makes good teaching and how we can improve our craft. Teachers work hard every day to provide our children with the skills they need to be productive adults. They are supported by us, their professional organization, and they would like to be supported and appreciated by the people they serve. Next week, while you're providing luncheons and sending your children to school with sentiments of appreciation, please consider taking the time to talk with your child's teacher and find out what you can do to support them and St. Mary's County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Raspa, board members, and Mr. Smith. It is a pleasure to be here representing the education support professionals who are so central to public education in St. Mary's County. Next Wednesday, November the 19th, we will be celebrating National Education Support Professional Day as part of our American Education Week activities. Our support staff, secretaries, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, hall monitors, maintenance, school nurses, and paraeducators, just to name a few, are an integral part of the day-to-day success of our school buildings. I hope you will join me and say thank you to the hard-working and committed colleagues for all they contribute to public education. We are proud to be part of a winning team of educators, and we look forward to working with teachers and administrators as we ensure that every child has access to excellent education in a healthy and safe environment. Thank your support staff and let them know they have your respect today and every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fennell. Okay, moving on, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. First action item, Section L policy, second reading. Dr. Marr.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm returning to you today for the second reading for action on the revised L policies. They were presented first on October 8th for first reading, and the public hearing was held on October 29th for these policies. We have had no public comment or feedback on these since our board meeting. I will start with policy LA, which is Community Education Relations, which is a new title. The edits in this, just to review, the edits in this policy were to present a purpose statement and to include some other clarifying pieces, for example, noting the Board of Education of the board. And in the other policies, we've made sure, based on the comment from the last time, that this is consistent throughout these policies as well. The notation in this policy that was added from the previous version was noting that all of our partnerships will be consistent with FERPA regulations to maintain confidentiality of our students. And the definitions that were added, the notations that were added from combining other policies as well is noting that before joining cooperative programs or participating in joint educational services with other systems, the board carefully weighs the desirability and feasibility of such cooperation and will seek to ascertain that in all instances those are in the best interest of St. Mary's County Schools and its students. Also noting the welcoming of professional visitors and observers consistent with KI and KIA policies. Also noting, too, there are additional policies, KBC and KBE, which address some of the questions that were raised last time about the procedures for involving partners in school improvement activities. The next one is LBC, which is relations with non-public and other public educational institutions, and a purpose statement was added to this one as well as some clarifying language to broaden the scope of what was previously there in the definition to include all non-public schools as well as local colleges and universities, not being specific to any single entity, as well as the definition of a non-public school. The third policy here is research projects involving employees and students, and this one, a purpose statement was added, some clarifying language to note the board, also noting parents and legal guardians, and changing the words children to students, as well as the statement added that the board authorizes the superintendent to develop regulations concerning independent research and for the school system. And again, these are consistent with policy IGB as well, which already spells out the full process for research that involves students. The next one is education agency, student teachers and student internships. A purpose statement was here added, as well as the authorization statement that was in the previous policy just presented. Definitions for student teacher and student intern. And the policies for this one are, the regulations for this one are fully fleshed out in a student intern handbook as well for our partner colleges. And the final policy that's being presented is the relations with Educational Accreditation Agency. Again, a purpose statement was added, as well as an authorization statement directing the appropriate directors, principal school administrators to work with those accrediting agencies, which is defined as well in this policy. So those are the L policies that we're presenting for your consideration for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Marr. All right, questions or comments? Mrs. Allen?
No questions, thank you.
Mrs. Washington?
Very good, Dr. Marr.
Thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
Thank you, sir. No questions.
Mrs. Crosby?
Very good, very methodical.
Thank you.
Sarita?
No questions, thank you.
I just have my usual question, Dr. Marr. Legal has gone over all these policies.
Yes, sir.
Checked it all out, so we're in compliance with COMAR, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, sir. Mr. O'Mealy has reviewed these.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, board members, this is an action item. We need a motion.
Please, go ahead.
I move that the Board of Education approve the Section L policies as presented.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Dr. Marr, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next order of action is purchase orders approved for FY 2015. The QZAB projects, Mr. Clements and Mr. Harwick, and Mr. Wyatt.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to turn this over quickly to Mr. Hardwick and Mr. Wyatt, but the first thing I wanted to bring on here is the QZAB money. Today we're bringing this contract forward for approval to move forward. It's based around the door locks for the classrooms, which we're trying to get done. Mr. Hardwick will bring you up to date on the status of those and all. But Mrs. Howe, working with her and looking at different ways to fund this with the local CIP. We've also looked at aging school money, which you'll see we're utilizing. And now we went to the QZAB for $264,000 for 5 schools. We're able to do door locks, but to get the value and meet the criteria of the grant, we needed to bring in additional needs, so we bought the cameras into it, and we were able to accomplish that as well in meeting the needs of it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. Mr. Hardwick will walk through the lock project, and then Mr. Wyatt can walk through the cameras, and any questions, we'll be happy to take those.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Board members, just to remind you, the Qualified Zone Academy bonds are actually federal funds that are administered by the state of Maryland. Those grants are competitively selected by the state. And last year, we proposed 5 projects combining the door locks and security camera enhancements. The 5 schools that were selected were Dinard, Green Holly, Greenview Knolls Elementary, Park Hall, and Town Creek. You can see that the door lock portion of the project is roughly $98,000. That project is replacing all the classroom locks with locks that can be operated and locked from inside the classroom. Mr. Wyatt's going to give you more information regarding the security cameras, but we're proposing to use an indefinite quantity contract for video camera systems that was approved by the board in April of 2013. That contract had an initial 1-year term and then 2 one-year renewals, and we have executed the 2nd year renewal in April 2014. In terms of the classroom locks, we're proposing also to use an indefinite quantity contract for general construction that the board approved in July of 2014. That contract specifically had the line items, the unit prices for all the door hardware that was anticipated through various projects. To date, we've committed to 16 projects using security initiative money, aging schools money, and now QZAB. Spring Ridge Middle School and Captain Walter Francis Duke Elementary School will have their locks, will have the proper locks as part of those two projects. So we have about 8 schools remaining that we're going to continue to look for additional funds. So with that being said, Mr. Wyatt will lead you through the security cameras.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwick. Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
Security cameras, this is now, since 2008, we've had a strategic management plan. One of our goals has been to have security cameras installed at all of our school sites. And working through that, of course, controlled by the amount of funds that are available from time to time. The wonderful part about this is that we're being, Mr. Hartwick and Ms. Howell and Mr. Clemens have worked to support our strategic management plan for physical security, if you will, but not necessarily impacting the educational budget, the local budget. So that's what we're doing with this money. We're making the most of it. Both projects we absolutely support 100%. We have been to each school, each elementary school on the security cameras. We have sort of a basic design for our security cameras for elementary schools based on, you know, the priorities of securing the building, the perimeter, those kinds of things. And of course, cameras are, they can be a deterrent factor, significant deterrent factor, but more importantly, the historical data that they provide to us when we're doing an investigation is critical. So as we develop these camera systems for the elementary schools, they're not as elaborate, obviously, as our secondary schools in covering the hallways, the internal hallways and things like that, but absolutely making sure that we have the outside covered. To include parking lot and the entrance in and out of the school, because a tag number, for example, is something, if something happens at a school, is very critical, a very critical piece of information that I know that law enforcement authorities would want to have. So we spent quite a bit of time going to each school. Some of them vary in cost only because of basically the square footage of the school is what you're going to notice mostly with that is that, one, the amount of cameras that may be required, and also impacted by the cabling runs. That, you know, where we have to do the home run, if you will, back to the server, how much money it costs to run, you know, the linear footage of the cable. So that's kind of where we're at with the cameras and on the door locks. This is critical. We've talked about both of these projects at every quarterly meeting with the Superintendent Safety and Security Advisory Committee. This is a major initiative nationally. We've talked about the fact that most of our schools, when they were built, weren't considering or having to deal with the fact about this securable lockdown space, with, if you will, in a classroom. And that's what we're doing with this, is we're moving forward quickly as we can with getting those pieces of hardware in place so we can accomplish that as we need to. So that's what I have. So, Mr. Clemens.
So just in closing, the cameras that Mike spoke of are extremely important for the day-to-day, but we also utilize them during inclement weather. We're able to, with those outside cameras, check our schools around to see what the parking lots look like and if it's snowing and things that way, so that when we make that call early in the morning to Mr. Smith, we have a good view of what's going on. So we utilize them there, as well as during an event when we've had our tornado watches and things and our schools are responding, we can check as well from the location here and location in my facility when we have emergency setups on that. So it's extremely important. And I think as both Mr. Wyatt and Mr. Hartwick stated, that it's important that this isn't operation money, it is capital money, and things are doing that way, try to make these things happen in all of our schools. So with that, any questions you have?
Mr. Smith, I'll give you first.
Yeah, I have no questions. I think that this is a very creative way to find funding that is much needed for our schools. I know that we have spent a great deal of time talking about how to best secure a building in the event of an intruder, and the thumb throw locks are the best solution that we have to date. And cameras throughout the system Mr. Wyatt and I have spent thousands of hours reviewing camera footage to investigate, to get to the truth of an incident. So completely supportive. I think this is a fantastic work, and we just now need to get it moving forward and get it done before it snows.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Allen?
What will be the timeline in accomplishing this for both the locks and the cameras?
The cameras are pretty straightforward. Again, it's a set standard of equipment, so we'll issue the POs with your approval today. So I would think probably in
This
three.
spring, they'll be doing
Yep.
installations this spring.
Now, in terms of the door locks, the door hardware that we use, as we discussed before, is a lot of that hardware is essentially handmade. There's a long lead time. It's about 12 weeks now, so we're looking probably starting in the spring and then going into the summer to complete all the door locks. But we anticipate that we will be done before the 2015-2016 school year.
I appreciate understanding what the timeline is. Also echoing Mr. Smith's words, really appreciate that you have taken the time to really research and determine, since funding is so tight throughout the system, that you have found ways, found funds that are available through the state in order to accomplish a much-needed task. So thank you for working to ensure that we can move forward with these things, and hope that we'll be able to complete the other, I believe you said 8 elementary schools over the course of perhaps the following year, if not perhaps the next 2 years it may take us. Any thoughts on how much longer it would take for, I mean, you're bringing forward 5 here. I don't know that you would bring 8 forward. I guess it depends on the
Right.
size of the schools.
Like, we have used aging school money, and we've got a little bit more left, and then we have next year's. So that would be a way to approach, but I don't think we can get all 8 at one time
No.
with that, and we can look at the QZAB. But for the most part, we looked at everything, all the schools we could that qualified, so that
Right.
probably not gonna be any more QZAB money used in this.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Mrs. Washington?
I think this is the way to go by providing surveillance 24/7 for our schools, our resources, and our staff and our students, so that they can have a safe and secure learning and working environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Washington. Mr. Matthews?
Thanks for all the hard work. Y'all going above and beyond, finding the bond money to make this stuff work and not affecting our other budget. Thank you very much. Good job. Continue the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Mrs. Crosby?
Yes, I think that surveillance 24/7 is a good idea. What I want to know is, my original computer was stolen when all the board members were here. And they blamed it on the cleaning lady, but I never saw a follow-up to that report. 1, I'd like a follow-up to the report. And 2, if we're going to have these things happen, I think that we're going to have surveillance here 24/7. Because that happened, apparently, Mr. Matthews told me, as soon as the meeting's over, that camera goes off. I think that camera's going to have to stay on, because these things are expensive. So it's never shown up. I went to Gloria's pawn shop, and it was closed.
Right. Ms.
So-
Crosby, we do have 24-hour surveillance cameras up on this building. We don't necessarily do the internal areas because there's a couple of different things with regards to, for example, we know this meeting's being recorded by other cameras and broadcast and things like that. And much as I want to say it's about money, it does cost quite a bit to put these cameras in, but you do have patrolling cameras on each corner of this building 24/7.
Outside,
Yes,
right.
ma'am, and in the hallway areas, there are cameras that remain on 24/7. So we do capture those
could have
images.
seen somebody take off with it out the back door, correct?
Yes, ma'am, and
Unless they put it under their coat, of course.
correct, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Serena?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Board members, this is an action item. Is there a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the use of the indefinite quality contract for access control and video camera systems for FY 2015 QZAB projects as presented by staff.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, the cameras are good. It's too bad they can't pick up the talking, the sound, except you can record somebody without their permission.
All right, next action item is emergency radio towers.
Criminal.
Mr. Clements and Mr. Kelly. I see Mr. Kelly's here today.
Yes, he's here with us.
I like it.
I want to start this up. We've been talking about the towers for a little while. I first have to recognize county government for this initiative of the radio system and the changeover, which we have benefited greatly from. All of our schools having the emergency radio. Our emergency response now moving from the phone systems to the radios. We have monthly drills on the radio to make sure everybody's using them, knows how to use them and responding. And some of the events we've had, we've been able to communicate that way when the phone systems were not working at the location. So it's really worked well for us. The additional towers that county government and Mr. Kelly are working on will assist greater in the communication and the signal there for us. So that is great. We talked last, real early spring last year, about possible locations on the Leonardtown campus site, and Mr. Kelly has gone back with his consultant and done some more work, and so that's been provided to you. The location of the tower is back in the wooded area. There's one little peak there, and then it goes off to some steep slopes and everything. So this is the 300-foot radius of the tower there. And then we requested that he provide us some distances from the tower itself to the building and things of that nature. So he did that. I think the closest is just over 600 feet, which is the relocatables back here in this area behind Leonardtown High School, and this is the Forest Center here, and then Leonardtown Middle School. So it's about that distance, much greater in the other areas, of course. Also shown is the right-of-way or an easement, and it comes out next to the current relocatable location. And as we write the easement and the agreement, we will make sure we maintain access. But in this area here, we request that it be a little more flexible because we're not sure how we are going to expand the Fairleigh 2 complex there. We've talked about moving the state units from Spring Ridge Middle School to that location when we're finished there, or I guess expanding this is a practice field here for Leonardtown High, be able to expand it some. So we're keeping that option open so we can do that in the future, but still provide them access the entire time. And I think you have this in your packet. The other thing that we asked, and they were greatly able to do, was to sort of superimpose what the tower would look like. So this is you can see the track area at Leonardtown High, looking back across the building, and what the tower may look like if you were standing in that area, if you could see back that way on it. So that's looking that direction, looking straight out behind the Forest Center here, the main entrance of the building here, the tower location, what it may look like from there as well. And then finally, the sort of the turn there between the buildings. This is looking back towards the field area where the Fairleigh 2 is located, and the woods back behind. So you can get an idea of what that looks like in those three pictures. So with this, and we would have a similar agreement with county government that we have on the Bethune site. as far as that and all. So that agreement, if this is approved today and finalized, we will finalize the agreement and have it to you for the next board meeting, and then it would be taken to the Board of Commissioners at that time. Mr. Kelly, is there anything you'd like to add or something? Okay. So board members, with that, your questions? For
I'm
me
sure
or
it's
Mr.
stated,
Kelly?
what's the height of that tower?
350 feet.
Is that what it is, 350 feet?
It's
about 340 feet,
340 feet?
King Kong can go up.
All right. Questions, comments? Sarita?
No questions, thank you.
Mrs. Crosby?
None, thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
Thank you, sir. I'm glad we have the flexibility with that easement for future development. Thank you.
Mrs. Washington?
I think it's vitally important for the school system to be secure, but for our county to be secure as well. So the previous presentation was a natural segue into this. And as Mr. Matthews said, flexibility is key for that site, and we want to work cooperatively and collaboratively with our county to make sure that they have what they need and we have what we need to keep the entire county safe, our schools and the county. So thank you for coming to our meeting today.
Mrs. Howell?
I appreciate the information as well as the tower superimposed in the pictures so that we could have an understanding of not just what it would look like, but kind of the distance. My biggest concern when I was reviewing the documents was the height of the tower as compared with the spacing of the closest structure to that. And it looked like at the 340, 350 mark for the height of the tower, that the closest structure would be the relocatables in use behind the Forest Center, and those are at slightly more than 600 feet based on the documentation that you've given us. So I think we have, certainly the sufficient distance that we don't need to be concerned about the tower hitting any structures that are on the school property as they come down. Just interested in knowing, once the agreement is struck and this moves forward, when would the county be anticipating that it would, that they would begin developing the access road, which presumably would have to happen first, and then moving forward to the point that the tower was constructed?
That's a very good question, Ms. Allen. The schedule, I just received the critical design review documents last week, so we're in the process of going through. I'm sure you're very aware of those efforts. I suspect, and we would try to arrange most of the work to be done while school is out. Hopefully, we can do it during the summer, this coming summer.
Excellent.
It's about, we figure, almost 3 months is kind of the window that we do for construction of a tower. But that's everything. That's from moving dirt to getting equipment in and operational. The actual construction work is about 2 months, so it kind of fits in that envelope where school is out, and that's what we're trying to schedule. And really, great cooperation. Kim and Brad have very particular and expressing exactly in detail what they want and making us produce the documents, which is good. It makes a better product. So just really good work, and thank you very much for that.
I appreciate it. You did sort of give a nod to one of my concerns, which was construction vehicles going in and out of there. There is a lot of traffic through there, just in terms of the bus access, plus certain parking back there for staff and so forth. So just having an understanding of heavy construction equipment going in and out, and then presumably trucks to be able to take sections of the tower in, and understanding how that might impact, no pun intended, the school traffic that would go through there. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Smith, any questions, comments?
No questions, only comment. Mr. Kelly, I appreciate your nod to the great work that Ms. Howe and Mr. Clements do, and I also then nod back to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly, for your contributions and collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Board members, we need a motion.
I move that the Board of Education approve the location for an emergency tower on the Leonardtown campus as provided in the attached site plan, with the access road being flexible to accommodate future development in the area of Fairleigh 2 and the athletic field.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Mr. Kelly, it's nice having you here today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to information items. College of Southern Maryland Cause Theater Student Program. Mr. Clements and Mr. Wyatt.
Mr. White, as they're coming up, I want to just take a moment to frame this, that a couple years ago, Mr. Wyatt had the bullying initiative out there and developed this working relationship and partnership with the College of Southern Maryland. And then when Mrs. Lacey came, Dr. Lacey came with the system, Mr. Wyatt was able to transition some of that to her with the diversity and everything. And as she was able to carry it on with that vacancy we have, it has shifted back to Mr. Wyatt and has done an outstanding job once again in coordinating these efforts at all of our levels of our schools, high school, middle, and elementary as well. So with that, Mr. Wyatt's going to give you that overview, and I thank Mr. Keith Heath from being here from College of Southern Maryland as well. So Mike, with that.
Thanks, Brad. So now I get to talk about the second part of our strategic management plan in safety and security. We talked about physical security today, and your indulgence, I'm just going to have this play in the background just so you can kind of, as you get a moment or two, this is Annecy the Spider that was done at the elementary schools by the Cause Theater. So just so you kind of get a sense about, well, let me see what's going on here.
One of Mrs. Washington's favorite books to read.
There
She
you
talks
go.
about it often.
Yes. There you go. There we go. So, as I'm talking, we'll be able to watch a little bit about this. As Mr. Clemens said, I have developed a wonderful partnership, a great friendship with Mr. Keith Height from the Cause Theater. And I can tell you this, every time I've come to Keith and said, I'd like to focus on this part of my strategic management plan, he has always come up with some great idea about how to deal with campus environment and community engagement. And those are two main pillars of our strategic management plan and what we're focusing on. So, as Mr. Clements said, we wanted to provide you today with an overview of the plan developed this year by us to present ongoing, through the established partnership, live theater performances that focus on diversity and equity, social issues, and high-risk youth behaviors to our students. We've been doing this since 2012, as Mr. Clements said, and all through the Cause Theater partnership. So I'm going to let Keith come up for just a moment. Keith, and if you could, I'd like to tell the board members what the Cause Theater is about. Could you do that?
Hi. Thank you very much for letting me have the opportunity to work with your school system. We really do appreciate it. Cause Theater started out because we were looking at teenage suicide, and originally that was the idea, to work with bringing social issues to the forefront and trying to find a solution, a positive solution. We started with a dating show, a dating abuse show, and this is how we wound up starting with your program. It's called Don't You Love Me. One of your board members or community members found us, and we've been working with you ever since. We love doing Cause Theater. It is very socially responsible for not only for the college, but for the theater department at CSM.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. So this year, as Mr. Clements said, we went with Mr. Smith, and we wanted to continue the diversity, equity theme, as well as focus on both our high school and middle school kind of programs where we're going with things. So what we've developed this year are, one, for the elementary schools, Mr. Height, and we haven't seen this production, is now in development, is that the official theater term for that? Yeah, so they're going to base a one-act play on the Sneetches and Other Stories by Dr. Seuss. So Ms. Kelly Hall met with the elementary school principals. They gave us feedback on a curriculum-appropriate kind of piece for that. So they're going to do they're doing this especially just for us. It's not something that they go cookie cutter and buy off the shelf. They're developing this production for our elementary schools. Ms. Hall is going to assist me with coordinating those productions at the elementary schools beginning after break. And they will continue, so every elementary school will have the opportunity to have the Sneetches seen live theater at their school. In the middle schools, as you know, we've tried to really focus and emphasize bullying. That's going to be part of what we're going to be doing again this year. And sort of an interesting title. We haven't seen this one yet, but we do plan to screen this one as well. The title for the one-act production is going to be "Thank You for Flushing My Head," for not flushing my head in the toilet, and other rarely used expressions. So that should be quite interesting once we see the initial screening of that one. And then that one will take place also in the after break, March, February timeframe at the middle schools. And I'm meeting with the principals now to coordinate the dates and times and things like that. And then finally for our high schools, because there's such a myriad of things that they're facing, and they see, and as Mr. Height said, dating violence, inclusion, exclusion issues, all those kinds of deals, and how to address all of that. They're going to do an excerpt from a production that's called "What I Want to Say But Never Will." And Ms. Heibel and I went out to screen that at the La Plata campus last week, and it was extremely impactful. It was unbelievable. We were so taken back by it. We'll get the dates out to you all. Please feel free to come and see these productions. But just a little bit about that one. 6 classroom desks on a stage, 6 high school students. The instructor comes into the classroom and says, "Okay, your assignment today in English is to write down what you want to say but never will." And then as the students are writing down their thoughts about all these different social issues, at-risk behaviors, all those different things, they begin to narrate out loud what their thoughts are. And it really covers the gamut. And Keith, you did a wonderful job with that. I'm so excited to be able to do that. Ms. Heibel and I were so impressed that we're going to try to encourage that to be mandatory for all 9th and 10th graders, and that they're just going to be a follow-up writing assignment in English classes. So in a nutshell, that's where we're going this year with our partnership with the College Theater, College of Southern Maryland. So, questions?
Okay, questions, comments? Sarita?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Crosby?
No, thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
Great partnership. Thank you for continuing the good work.
Mrs. Washington?
This is an extraordinary partnership to use the theater to bring about student awareness of social issues. And I love going to the theater. I visit the theater here in the county. I go to New York whenever I can. I love the theater. Many students have not been exposed to the theater, so this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. I would ask that it be included on the board calendar, that you give those dates to Sandra, so the
Yes,
board
ma'am.
will be aware, so that we can go and see these productions. I think it would be wonderful. And I congratulate you for what you're doing, and they are all original, tailored specifically for St. Mary's County Public Schools. So we have excellent partnerships, and I just pray this partnership continues to thrive and grow in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Washington. Mrs. Allen?
I was very fortunate. I grew up in Fairfax County. I was having this conversation with Laurel Dietz, our supervisor of fine arts, yesterday. And growing up there, we were given the opportunity on multiple occasions throughout the years as students to go to hear the National Symphony Orchestra play, to see various productions, and to be exposed to that kind of culture and to understand what is out there is extremely powerful. I know that Mrs. Washington and I both were able to attend the Cause Theater production of Don't You Love Me, and it was heart-wrenching. It was extremely powerful, and as a student, to be able to sit in school with your peers and be exposed to this kind of theater production is helpful in that it gives you the opportunity to have a conversation with your peers in a comfortable place. And when I say comfortable, I don't mean in terms of just physical comfort, but rather in a safe environment to kind of be able to bounce things off of each other. And I'm very grateful that you're providing that opportunity for our students. I echo Mrs. Washington's request that we be notified so that we can make the time to come and see some of the productions. I have to say that I've not heard the expression flushing my head in the toilet since I was in college. And I'll just leave that at that. I'm also interested to see the productions you wind up doing using Dr. Seuss's stories. I've talked this past year about the fact that I found a book of Dr. Seuss stories that were lost, the Bipola Seed, and I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but the stories in there are extremely powerful. Especially one of my favorites is about talking about how someone very small is able to think their way out of something and overcome a much more powerful bullying figure that I read to the students at Town Creek, and usually when I go to read, and I suspect this happens to all of us, the students are very familiar with most of the stories that we read, and in this instance, no one had heard the particular story that I read, including the teacher nor the administrative staff. And so if you've not seen that book, I would encourage you to find it and read through it, because I think based on what I've seen of your work, it might be something that you would like to consider.
Could you email me the name of it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Send it to me, I'll forward it.
I will do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And Mr. Height, thank you very much for coming down today and sharing with us.
Mr. Height, welcome, thank you for attending, and please come back some other times, be with us, and tell us some more things that you would like to be involved in with us. Thank you.
And don't leave yet. Mr. Wyan, I do, Mr. Clements referenced it, but I would like to publicly appreciate the work you do on behalf of the school system to coordinate all of these things. And Mr. Height, STEM gets all the press, right? STEM gets all the press, but you know what? The arts. The arts are essential to what make us human. That's what gives us empathy, that's what makes us congratulate, that's what makes us consider other people. And when you put arts in the middle of STEM, you get STEAM, and when you get STEAM and you harness it, you can move mountains. So let's always come back to that.
Well said.
So thank you very much. I look forward to all of the performances this year, and I value the arts perhaps more than all other parts of the STEAM. So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Wyan.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Said like a true
Thank you.
English major.
Said like ones who like words, yes.
Okay, next information item is the FY 2015 October financial report. Ms. McCourt.
Good morning. For the period ending October 31st for fiscal 2015, we've received revenues in the amount of $76.2 million. That reflects 39% of our revenues. On the expenditure side, all of the categories are within budget. However, for special education, the contracted services overage is due to utilizing contracted therapists in place of unfilled positions at this time. The transfers overage is due to the non-public placement, and these accounts will continue to be monitored, but at this time, there is sufficient savings within the category to cover these costs. Total encumbrances outstanding as of October 31st are $118.2 million, and year-to-date encumbrances and expenses as of October 31st were $165 million. Are there any questions?
Any questions, comments? Mrs. McCart, Mrs. Allen?
No questions with respect to the revenue or expenditure report. I saw the adjustment that you made on the employee health line, moving a portion of the funds to the retiree account line. And I appreciate the narrative that you are providing for us. That's very helpful. I also, in the general fund budget transfer summary that you provided, just want to give a nod to the fact that, as had been shared with us previously, that there has that $30,000 has been taken from the previous superintendent's lapsed salary to and placed in a line so that we will have funding for a superintendent search. And though not specifically related to this, with respect to that, have had a number of questions asked of me with respect to, what's the timeline for that? How will that go? And so that we can work on moving that process forward, because of the kinds of questions that I've been getting, I know 10 years ago we had MABE down to provide just a general overview of what a superintendent search process is, and if that would meet with the interest of the board, that's something I would like to see us pursue. There's not a cost for MABE to come down and do that, and it has nothing to do with determining who will accomplish the superintendent search, but it might help our staff and our community understand, kind of what that process looks like, and give the board, including the incoming board members, the opportunity to understand a bit more about that. So if possible, I'd love to, if there's room on the schedule for the last meeting in November, perhaps we could ask if they have the time to come down and do that.
How about the new board, Mrs. Allen? Is that who you're talking about that would be at this? Not us, but the new board, or maybe me, I don't know.
As you and I've talked about before, 10 years ago, MABE came down and just did an overview of what a superintendent search looks like, what it is, what it isn't. So it's just general information for the community at large. No decisions to be made by the board in any way, but just an information item. And then following that, at some point, presumably in December, we would start to talk about who would do a search, and do we want to do a search, and so forth.
I still think it would be better. December 1st is when the new board takes the oath of office.
Right.
And our first meeting is December 10th. I think that's when what you described should take place.
Well,
not in November when you're gone and you're gone.
Right. No, what I'm saying is,
I think it ought to be done. We need to know what the process is, because we didn't know the process for choosing a superintendent, and we kind of fumbled our way through it. You need a process for something.
So that's what they would be explaining, would be a process, and Mrs. Weaver and Mrs. Bailey and the rest of the community are welcome to be here and hear that. And it would be online, so that if people weren't able to be in attendance, then they could watch it there. But as I stated, there's no input from the board, it's just purely information, and there are a lot of questions.
Well, they're getting orientation. Sam, where is she? She left somewhere.
I think we should wait until the new board members are seated before we have MABE come, to have these people sitting at the table, before we have that dialogue or presentation by MABE. I think that would be better at that time in December, and then the board can decide what it will decide to do, whether to do a search or not to do a search. But that has to be a board decision. We have 2 new board members coming on, and I think to wait till they are sworn in and seated would be the better way to proceed.
Okay.
I would, we're getting off a little away from the financial thing. Of course, this is a discussion that needs to continue. I don't believe it needs to continue at this time. I will agree that 2 new board members will be coming on, and that the discussion should begin with the 2 new board members present, and the total board then go ahead and discuss what direction they want to go in, and the superintendent needs to be involved, and the superintendent can make recommendations and suggestions. Going with MABE, obviously, is the way I think personally is to do it, as an information item on the future board meeting with everybody there. That would be the appropriate way to begin this. Some of us have been involved in 2 or 3 searches in previous years, and it is very important, and it's also in the best interest of the board and the community and the total school system, I think personally, to have MABE come down and give the discussion, and the community involvement is very important. They should be present at the board meeting, as Mrs. Allen suggests, and so does Mrs. Washington and the rest of the board. This kind of thing is very important to the community. The community should take an interest in the superintendent search, and they should be in this room to listen if that's what happens, you know, if the future board decides to go ahead and have MABE come down and give a presentation. There's no cost to it. No decision has to be made, obviously, but they will come down and make a presentation and proceed with the process, and this way everyone could see what the outline is. Mr. Smith, you have any input on this particular situation, since we're involved in this discussion at this time?
I do believe that, first of all, Mrs. McCourt, thank you very much. And the $30,000 has been placed aside, and that is the historical amount that's been budgeted for superintendent searches. The board to be seated in December has a very important task, and that will be to determine who they want to lead the system for the next 4 years. The board will also be determining redistricting, the opening of another elementary school, and putting together a budget that will carry us through 1 more year and perhaps forward thinking for the next 4. So there are a lot of very large decisions and a lot of things that need to occur in the coming months, and I look forward to working with that new board.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. McCourt, we'll continue with you at this time. Sorry for a little sidebar here, which is fine. Mrs. Allen, do you have any other questions or comments, Mrs. McCourt?
No,
Okay.
I'm not sure based on the comments, I'm not sure I got my point across, but I was not trying to exclude anyone. I was trying to keep us on the needed timeline, so.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Washington?
Great job, thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
Thank you.
Mrs. Crosby?
Thank you for working with Elaine, too. She's a great lady. Integrity's all the way up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Crosby. Sarita?
No comments, thank you.
Mrs. McCourt, as usual, thank you very much. Fine job. Board members, remember, we have a work session scheduled right after this meeting on policy BEC, first reading, and Mr. Burkhouse will conduct that work session. Future board meetings, the next regular board meeting will be on Tuesday, November the 25th, 2014, beginning at 5:30 p.m. And this meeting is adjourned.
I gotta go talk to